Are you or someone you know looking to buy or sell a home? When you use a HomeGain Realtor to buy or sell a home, you can get $150. Visit homegain.com and click on the Promo 150 banner at the top of the page to get started. Compare HomeGain Realtors and choose your favorite. Complete your home purchase or sale transaction with a HomeGain Realtor, and HomeGain will pay you $150. Get started today by going to homegain.com.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Washington, D.C. Metro with local expert Ryan Sloper. Now, here's Ryan.
Welcome back, Washington, D.C. Metro, to Ryan Sloper's Real Estate Radio, and I'm joined today by my guest, Louis Cammarosano, the General Manager of HomeGain. Quick reminder, Real Estate Radio is designed to build the Washington, D.C. Metro's real estate markets by giving you good free advice. If you ever have any questions, concerns, or real estate needs, the best number to reach out to us is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. So I wanted to jump back in to, there's a lot of shadow inventory out there. And I know a lot of you are kind of like, okay, I always hear that term. What is shadow inventory? And shadow inventory is basically the glut of foreclosure inventory that has yet to come on the market and actually be listed for sale. Now, why that's important to you, the seller, that could potentially be, ready to sell your home, is because what happens is when these properties find their way back to the market, the prices of non-distressed properties in the region will be adversely impacted. And there's a couple of reasons why. The first reason is that there's a limited number of home buyers that are in any market. And there's a percentage of those buyers that are going to purchase these distressed properties, or the ones that have finally gone to foreclosures. Now, as those properties, the distressed properties or the foreclosures actually sell, they will now become comparable sales used by an appraiser to establish the value of homes. So since these properties are sold at a discount, they will have a negative impact on the valuation of your potentially home that could be sold. So, when you're thinking like, okay, well, maybe I'll wait next year to sell this house, you have to really take into consideration that there is a buildup of homes that have yet to come on the market. And when they do, that will then be a comparable for your house. So I say right now, especially in the DC metro area, we have historically low interest rates. That's nationwide. But, we have a low inventory of actually houses in general that are on the market, and a low inventory of actual rentals that are on the market. So rental prices are moving up and actual home prices are moving up. So there's really not a better time to actually sell your home than right now, because you have everything working in your favor. Louis, I mean, I don't know what it's like out there in California, but here in the DC metro area, we're not seeing as many foreclosures, but there's still a good percentage of those. And those percentages they're still selling for, I want to say the number is, let's see here, the average sales price of a distressed home nationwide was $164,217. And on average, distressed homes sell for 32% less than a home that was not in foreclosure. So in Virginia, I believe the actual number of homes that were sold, see here, by foreclosure in Q2 was 5,131 homes, and that was down 4.58% from Q1. Now, as a percentage of all the sales in Virginia, these foreclosures made up 26.11%, and the average REO discount percentage was 45.38% versus that bank short selling that home, which was 29.83% discount to the going market rate. So let's just say, if we round those numbers up, let's just talk about, let's just say 45% discount as the average market rate. So if you have a house that's, $200,000, let's just say that it's selling that distressed sale at $110,000, $125,000. Do you think that that's going to hurt your ability to sell your home for top value? I think it is. And I really think that there's, all the stars are kind of aligned right now with low interest rates and prices moving up, that it makes all the sense in the world to actually consider selling your home today versus waiting 6 to 12 months down the road, just because we might not have all these stars aligned at that point in time. And Louis, wouldn't you agree with that?
No, I'd agree with that, but you'd have to clarify that sounds contrary to you should buy a home now. statement, but I think the way you clarify that is the cost of home ownership argument, that you may buy a house that may go down in the next year or two, but you're locking in an interest rate and a lower mortgage payment than your current rent.
Yeah, I actually should take it a step further. What I'm actually saying is when you do sell that home, you should go and buy another home as well. What I recommend is not dumping all of the cash that you receive from the proceeds of that sale into the next home. I recommend financing more of it because you're actually, like we always talked about, you're able to get a mortgage at a low fixed rate to protect yourself from future inflation. So I'm saying while the market's hot, if you're looking to move up, move into a bigger home, or you're looking to consolidate and move into a smaller home, or buy a vacation, whatever it may be, it makes sense to do that because you're able to maximize the amount of profits that you can get out of your current home now with the low interest rates. I mean, I'm seeing prices move up so fast, it's ridiculous. It's actually kind of scary.
Right. Now, in your area, the statistics you gave, I had the Realty Track statistics nationwide. I think in the second quarter, 32% of homes that were sold nationwide were in foreclosure, and 19% were the short sale REO properties. So that's a bit higher. And those numbers should probably continue for another year or so. So you're right. The inventory will continue to come onto the market, either in the form of more foreclosures or short sales. I think, as you pointed out, at some point the banks should probably realize it makes sense, since you get less for a foreclosure than a short sale, that you should start doing more of the short sales. And if they do that, that'll bring more of the short sales onto the market.
Yeah, and you know what? I started one of the big things I've been thinking about over the last week or so is kind of like, there's this kind of moral dilemma with the banks and whether they should foreclose on somebody or whether they should allow the short sale. And it's, okay, do they have a financial hardship? They have to have a financial hardship in order for the bank to want to consider a short sale. And I'm kind of like, that's crap. Because you know what? When the banks made all their bad investments, they were bailed out with really no questions asked, and their account balances were just magically, shot back up to $1 billion, whatever it may be. To me,
they were recapitalized. That's right.
Yeah, they were completely recapitalized. And to me, I think that really the burden should shift back on the banks here to really work with the homeowner. I'm not even saying, hey, let's refinance them or anything, because I don't think that's going to happen. The problem is that, the government and Fannie and Freddie, they can't. I don't see a way they're going to be able to finagle this to actually be able to refinance anybody at the going rates. Even though I suggested that and I like that approach, there's too many investors that are tied up into the way the mortgages are pooled together into mortgage-backed securities for them to probably ever allow that, because they would have to reimburse those investors for their losses. So I don't see that happening.
So there you're basically doing is you're having the taxpayers fund the losses of the investors and the loss incurred by the homeowner.
Exactly. And
the homeowner still has a loss even though they get a refinance.
Yep. So I just don't see that as a feasible thing. I just don't think it's going to ever work out. But what I'm saying is I could care less whether the homeowner has basically a financial hardship or not, because guess what, Lewis? If they have in their head that they're going to get rid of their house, they're going to do it one way or the other. So
right. Might as well get as much as you can if you're the lender.
Absolutely. So guess what? Banks, lenders, if you're listening up, it doesn't matter whether they're just strategically defaulting. You're going to conserve your funds, and you're going to still, not lose as much if you choose to work with the homeowner. It's a win-win situation for everybody. The buyer still can't buy for another 2 years anyway once they have a short sale on their credit report. So, they're prohibited from doing so, and the bank's going to net more money.
Well, you know what it is, though, Ryan? I think it's because the large banks, and they're the ones that hold most of these loans, and then, of course, Fannie. But the large banks have such rigid guidelines that they don't probably give the loan officers the discretion to do things on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
And so, therefore, they just have this one policy that prohibits them from doing what you're suggesting, even though it makes sense for them to do so. And I've seen it. The larger an entity gets, they're almost restricted by their own rules from doing the right thing, or the thing. When I say the right thing, the thing that would actually bring them more money. But they're more concerned about compliance than they are with profit or saving money.
Exactly. They're worried about lawsuits down the line. And, one of the statistics...
And also the employees are worried about, are they doing it according to, no one gets to be a superstar at Bank of America by changing a few loans.
Right, yeah. Well, it does seem like they're moving in the right direction. I mean, this is actually a positive. A total of 102,407 pre-foreclosure homes, also known as short sales, were sold in the second quarter, which was an increase of 19% from the previous quarter. A total of 162,680 REO homes and or foreclosures were sold in the second quarter, which is virtually unchanged from the first quarter. So that was unchanged, but we did have a big increase in the amount of short sales that went through. Short sales on average sold for a discount of 21% below the average sales price of a non-foreclosure home, and REOs on average sold at a discount of nearly 40%. So you have a 19% disparity there. I mean, let's just talk numbers. I mean, that's good. That's good for the banks. It's better for the banks to work with them, And really, Lewis, it'll really get the market moving at a faster pace if they do these short sales because you don't have to go through the foreclosure process.
No, absolutely. But here's the other thing: that robo-signing thing is also weighing on the banks too.
Yep.
They're reluctant to take action and to continue doing foreclosures or short sales.
Yeah, and I think that and that's this all this kind of pulls right back that what we were talking about earlier, and like the potential things that Bernanke could do to help this real estate industry. There's so many other things that are hindering with potential lawsuits, robo signings, the glut of foreclosure inventory. I mean, you can't really just pick one thing out and really have it solve this market problem.
Well, you can let the market solve the market problem, and then that would probably mean that a lot of these banks would probably go under.
That is true.
And there is not the political will, either at the Fed or in the Congress, to allow that to happen. But that's really, if that happened, then the market would clear itself in a year or two, and you wouldn't have a housing crisis. What's going to happen is they're going to attack it from all sides and throw a lot of money at it, as they have been, and it's going to go on for 4 or 5 years, maybe longer.
That's completely true. When we come back, we're going to jump into where mortgage rates are today and what you can do to lock in at historically low rates. You're listening to Real Estate Radio.